Hello, student. Welcome to college. Home to knowledge, classes, sports, personal development, research papers. Whoa. Wait. Did you say research papers? Hello, friends. This is an intervention. I'm here to stop the panic before it starts. To explain why, let me walk you through a tragically common scenario. Let's say you're a freshman in college, fresh out of high school, and you're a pretty good writer. So you get your first paper assignment, probably in your first year composition class, and you're feeling in control. So you go out and you research all the things. You work your butt off making the best paper you can possibly write, and by the time it's done, you feel pretty good about what you're turning in. But the grade is not what you expected. Actually, it's worse. A lot worse. Now you're frustrated, ticked off. You don't understand what went wrong. Everything seemed great. Have you been deluding yourself this entire time thinking that you knew how to write? You start second-guessing yourself, which then leads to hating everything you write for the rest of the semester and ends in the inevitable downward spiral of hating everything writing in general. Let's stop this vicious cycle before it even begins. It's all right. You're not an awful writer. I promise you're going to be okay. Think of it this way. College writing and high school writing take the same tools to work, but they work off of a different pattern. Just like you can use the same tools to build a house and a bridge, you use the same tools to write in high school and college. The difference is that each follows a different building plan. You have the tools to write. You just need the building plans, and those plans are called the genre. The real problem is that your high school teachers had to teach you one building plan for writing for school, and college writing uses another. Even great high school writers can feel overwhelmed at the sudden switch of academic genre. Just because you've been riding a bicycle your entire life doesn't mean that your first time on a stunt bike is going to be a total success, or that you'll walk away without stitches. So let's talk about genre. Are you an action-adventure fan, or maybe horror, manga, crime dramas, or rom-coms? Those are all tropes, kinds of characters, and moods or plot devices that set one kind of movie apart from the others. These are called genres. If I told you to write a Western, for instance, you'd probably end up with lots of horses and gunslingers and huge open landscapes and vigilante justice. If I told you to write a sci-fi, I can almost guarantee it takes place in the future, with aliens and super technology and questions about how societies are put together. Breaking out of the expected genre can go well or very badly. Unexpected things can happen if, for instance, you put aliens in your Western, or you get monsters mixed up in your Regency romance, or if Freddy Krueger wanders into the neighborhood.
What the heck is going on?
Writing outside the expected genre for academic papers may work, but more often than not, it falls flat, and flat papers lead to poor grades. When talking about genres in writing, a rhetorical genre is a conventional structured response to a rhetorical situation or the skeleton or architecture of an argument. It's sort of like the rhetorical template you follow in certain situations. Genres are super useful. They streamline understanding in specialized contexts, and they communicate a clear relationship between you and your audience. There's no guesswork because everybody knows what to expect. Every time you find yourself in a new speaking or writing situation, you have to stop and figure out what genre to use and what its requirements are. Specifically, this means considering who the audience is, what purpose the genre serves, and how the text is usually structured. First, different genres often have different audiences and expectations. Is your audience full of specialists, for instance, or are they more generic? What are their expectations? For purpose, you want to ask, what job does this genre do and how? And for text, you want to know what's the format and structure. So, when you analyze the academic genre, what do we find? The The word analysis actually means to break up into little pieces or explode, so let's explode the genre and see how to write it. Let's start with two very important differences. High school writing asks you to show off how much you learned, but in academia, experts are writing to experts. So it asks you to show off how well you think. It wants to see what you can do with what you learned. Secondly, most high school writing is aimed to make you a competent writer who doesn't make a lot of errors, but academic writing wants you to develop new ideas. What usually happens is that a new college student continues to write to show what they know, with as few errors as possible, but their grade rests largely on having good ideas and research supported by fluent writing. Your instinct is to write summaries, but your instructors want interesting claims. First and foremost, academic writing is thesis-oriented, and that thesis is specifically designed to answer a problem. That problem could be anything to something we don't know, understand, can't interpret, or can't solve. Once you identify a problem, then you do more research on that problem to learn as much as you can about it. When you research the problem, then you can make an interesting claim about it. That main claim in your paper should always directly arise from the research you did beforehand. Once you have your claim in hand, then you can write your paper where you strike up a written conversation between other people who've also written on your problem, and you show why you think your claim deserves attention. If you compare these 4 steps and purposes to the traditional 5-paragraph essay, you can start to see how college writing transitions from one to the other. In the 5P essay, you usually write as a novice to an audience of 1, your teacher. In academic writing, you're ideally on the same level with your audience who represents the entire academic community. In this case, your teacher is more like a coach to help you practice that writing. In the 5P format, your exigence, the thing that makes you want to write, is a prompt on the assignment, and you usually write to meet the needs of that assignment to show proficiency. But in academic writing, the goal is to get to the point that you find your own reason to write from research from which you get a new idea. To that end, a successful 5P essay is the one that fits the grading rubric, but the academic work is reviewed by your peers in the discipline. And finally, all of this is going to lead to a longer, much more complicated paper. These differences change the structure of the essays too. If you look at this comparison, you'll see that the intro, points, and conclusion of the 5-paragraph essay are there, they're just expanded. Depending on the needs of your topic, academic writing mixes and matches all sorts of subsections like historical background, explanation of methodology, areas for further research, and more. While most of your papers before were a way of assessing your learning of some material or process, in college classrooms, the papers that you get are usually one little slice of the full academic research project that you need to practice. Each paper represents a technique or rhetorical move or a section of a paper that your professors also use on a regular basis. So when you get a shorter assignment, in addition to asking yourself what this genre looks like, also ask yourself, what part of the academic writing process does this particular paper help me do? The genre of those individual papers doesn't have to be a mystery. Your professor, if they're a good assignment writer, will give you instructions on how to write the genre of the paper. It's called an assignment sheet. Give that sheet a good close reading and look for cues for the genre. Who's the audience, what's its purpose, and what will the text do? Even lousy assignment sheets will usually give you enough to get started. For instance, look at the verbs. Things like compare, analyze, contextualize, explain, demonstrate, all give you ways of thinking about how you're going to structure this paper and what's expected. Secondly, take a look at how much research is being required. That can also give you a good clue. If you don't have any sources required or there's only one, chances are you're going to be doing an analysis, an explication, or an evaluation. If there are exactly 2 sources required, in a lot of cases, these are going to be compare and contrast papers. And if you have a lot of sources required, that's where you're usually going to see the kind of synthesis that you require in a full academic research argument. So with that, let me leave you with 7 short tips on how to do the actual writing itself. First of all, remember that your ultimate audience is your peers. So project a confident image of yourself, remember this is called your ethos, to your readers. Don't use language that sounds like you're hedging your bets or you're not sure. Second, when you start talking about who thinks what in a paper, Always make sure to use proper citation and to credit those people. Each discipline has a preferred format you'll learn as you go. Third, remember that when you're thinking about your formality level, which is known as your register, you're going to write formally. Think of it as putting your writing in a suit, but just because writing is formal doesn't mean it has to sound like a PGA golf announcer. Just because it's wearing a suit does not mean you can't pick the color and the cut. Fourth, do not write vague, never-ending sentences that never get anywhere. You want to be concise with your language, which means getting right to the point with as little extra verbiage as possible. Fifth, always use specific language that directly references actual things. Make your nouns and verbs specific, interesting in actions rather than just things, ideas, or situations. Sixth, as you engage in that conversation with experts, the tradition is to use last names and refer to their work in the present tense. And finally, this is the most important, academic writing does not have to sound boring. You're going to read a lot of research that sounds exactly like that PGA golf announcer. This does not have to happen. Find your style, love it, and don't let 4 years of college wear it out. Okay, so we're going to end with one dirty little writing secret. Genre is really a useful way to prevent from getting writer's block, because if you can ask yourself those 3 questions, who am I writing to? What's the purpose of this text? And how is it formatted? You can always start with an outline and get your stuff put together. All right, don't panic. We'll catch you in the next video.